Hey folks, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy, your electric geek, and if you're coming here for the first time, I cover 4K Blu-ray reviews, Steelbook unboxings, PS5 gaming, as well as home cinema tech. So if that's the kind of thing that you're into, then please consider subscribing to the channel and make sure you've got your notification bells on so that you know when my latest videos drop. Coming up for you very shortly, I'll be doing a quick unbox of this HMV exclusive Steelbook of the Suicide Squad on 4K, and then after that we'll get talking about the movie's audio and video quality, just so that you guys can get a quick sneak peek, and it'll help you make that decision hopefully as to whether or not you should pick this up in 4K or splash out and get the Steelbook. I have lots of good things to say about this Steelbook and the disc itself, so let's just get straight into it. Okay, so HMV's exclusive Steelbook edition of the Suicide Squad on 4K. I pre-ordered this a few months back so that I could review it on the channel, and I liked the artwork, but to my surprise it's still actually available to buy direct after its initial release date, so if you like the look of it and you want to pick one up, then I will put a link down in the description just for your convenience. So, a pretty understated design. They've gone, initially I seen the black and I was a bit dubious of what it would look like, but I think each supervillain or anti-hero, whatever you want to call them in the film, has had their own little caricature done and with their own kind of unique lettering for their names. I think it's really smart. I think the bright colours really pop against the black actually, and I think they've done a good job with the front of the Steelbook. The spine is just the Suicide Squad with the bullet holes across suicide, which is pretty cool. And then on the back, as you can see, it's a two-tone design. You've got the black on the front and the red on the back. They've obviously got the multicoloured polka dots, and then the star, there's a wee nod there to obviously Polka Dot Man, and the ridiculous Starro, the villain at the end of the film. But yeah, I like the two-tone design. I think it's pretty nice. Inside, taking a look, and again, you've got that star design for the 4K disc. Pretty decent, at least it's original. And then the standard Blu-ray has just your kind of vanilla blue colouring, but that's fine. I'm not going to be putting that on much anyway, just for the special features. And then the artwork inside, you've got a pretty cool ensemble shot of the Suicide Squad silhouetted against the sunset there. Pretty cool for inside artwork, I have to say. So yeah, my thoughts on the Steelbook are, initially I was a bit worried about the design. I didn't think it was maybe in keeping enough with the film, a bit understated with the black on the front. Obviously the film's so vibrant and larger than life, I thought the Steelbook would be like that as well. But no, I quite like it. It's a pretty kind of mature design, but it still has a lot of colour and vibrancy on the front, quite pop arty. So yeah, I'm impressed with that Steelbook and I would recommend it. I'm glad I've added it to my collection. Just before I go on to talk about the movie itself, and of course the 4K disc, I have a little digital code giveaway to do, as I fancied watching the original Suicide Squad and the build up to watching this on the 4K, and I managed to pick up one that still had the digital code. So just for a little bit of fun, if you want to get your hands on a digital copy, all you have to do is answer a question that I'll pose to you towards the end of the video. Like the video, answer the question, and I'll just pick somebody at random from those who give the correct answer. You don't have to look too hard for the answer, because I'm going to actually give you it in the video. So pay attention and listen carefully for that. So James Gunn's sequel slash soft reboot blasted its way onto our screens earlier this summer, and for the most part it was well received by viewers and critics alike. It's currently got a solid 7.3 rating on IMDb, and I probably would have given it 8 out of 10 myself. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it in the cinema first time around, and I remember as I was watching it thinking, this is going to be an absolute demo disc when it comes to the 4K format. I have to say, I didn't dislike the original Suicide Squad with David Ayer, but I definitely prefer James Gunn's version to it. James Gunn this time around has delivered a much more consistent movie which knows exactly what it is from the outset. It's a balls to the wall, larger than life action comedy that doesn't take itself too seriously and doesn't skimp on the violence, although usually for comedic effect. It feels like you're watching a comic, and you can't help but laugh at the absolute Z-list anti-heroes as they stumble their way through the ridiculous plot. A little bit of trivia about the Suicide Squad. You may or may not know that originally it was Dave Bautista who James Gunn intended to play the Peacemaker. That role obviously went to John Cena, which I have to say, I think John Cena played the character brilliantly. I don't know if Dave Bautista would have done it with quite the same style that John Cena did. I think John Cena plays him for laughs, yeah, but he is quite sinister. And I'm not sure personally that Dave Bautista would have been able to strike that balance of the humour and the menace just quite as good as John Cena did, but I suppose we'll never know. But the reason he turned it down was because he instead opted to play the lead character in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, which as it turns out wasn't that well received, so maybe he should have played the role of Peacemaker after all. But the little link between the three, James Gunn, Zack Snyder and Dave Bautista, that you may or may not know about, is that Army of the Dead wasn't the first zombie movie from Zack Snyder. You're probably aware that his first, and kind of his breakthrough film if you like, was Dawn of the Dead, who ironically James Gunn wrote the screenplay for. So there you go, that might come in useful later on. I think James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is an absolute must-have for any collector, whether you get it in 4K, Blu Ray or DVD. It's just a really excellent film, especially if you're a DC fan, so if you haven't got around to seeing it, make sure you do, and just pick it up in some format. Which brings me nicely on to talk about how much of an absolute stonker this 4K disc is. So on the video front for Suicide Squad, it is a native 4K digital intermediate that is on the disc. The aspect ratio is 190 by 1, and that's because the film was, I think, largely shot using IMAX cameras, which has resulted in excellent picture quality, and it means that you don't really have black letterbox bars. You have little tiny slit ones, but for the most part you get the whole image throughout the film on your screen. So if you've got a large TV, then it'll really bring that to life and you'll get the benefit of having that big screen size. So that's a big plus for me, and it just gives these larger life characters that big canvas, that big scale, the scale they deserve if you like. On the HDR front, it's quite an unusual disc in that it comes with both Dolby Vision and HDR10+. Obviously there's HDR10 there, but it's quite unusual. Usually the distributors tend to go with one or the other. I don't usually stick both on it. So that's pretty neat if you've got the ability to play those different variations of HDR. But it just looks awesome. The close-ups are brilliant. You'll see all the little features, lines, wrinkles in people's faces, all your little detail in the clothing and in the superheroes' costumes. It's all there. But where this really stands out is HDR. It's as though James Gunn created this film to show off HDR discs or that technology, because there's just so much vibrant colour. Like you've got polka dot man, all these glowing crazy like warts and boils that he has, and then obviously when he uses his powers, that's when HDR can really bring that to life. And then you've got the kind of almost Who Framed Roger Rabbit scenes with Harley Quinn, where like animated stuff starts coming into the screen, and the extra contrast really helps all that pop, and it does give the image that bit of depth and really makes those scenes stand out. When Harley escapes her captors, run about the kind of second act, that for me is a highlight visually. It's just something to behold, especially when it goes into the kind of dream sequence. It's just awesome, and it's a true demo for HDR. I watched it in Dolby Vision because I've got a Sony setup and they don't currently support HDR10+, so I can't speak for HDR10+, but certainly for Dolby Vision, it's awesome, and it's definitely one visually you need to add to your collection. On to the audio front, and it's just as good over here as well. We have a Dolby Atmos track that is demo reference as well. It's just a fantastic disc. Plenty of LFE, loads of low frequency stuff. It's a big budget action film, so all the stuff you'd expect there. You know, you get the LFE and the explosions, you get the object-based stuff, and the height channels kick in whenever there's a helicopter, like the helicopter that takes off at the beginning, and then most notably when Jotunheim collapses, the scene where Peacemaker and Rick Flag stand off the first time, only to be interrupted by the explosion going off and the ceiling collapsing on them, is absolutely deafening, and it feels like your own roof's coming in. Really, really good. One to crank up loud and really enjoy if the neighbours are out. But yeah, the audio is awesome. As I say, we've got Dolby Atmos here, the object-based stuff, and it's an absolute reference track, just like the video. The soundtrack in itself is awesome. I personally really like James Gunn's music choice. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy films, Awesome Mix 1 and 2, were awesome, and this has got its own Suicide Squad dceu flavour to it, but it's definitely its own thing. It's not just Awesome Mix Volume 3, shall we say, but it's a bit more edgy and in keeping with the Suicide Squad, but it's just a great track, and there's some brilliant songs on there. Even a wee forgotten track from the Fratellis. Being a Scotsman, it was nice to hear that in one of the scenes too. Speaking just quickly about the special features, the 4K disc, and I think the Blu Ray as well, boasts over 80 minutes of special features, so if that's something that you're into and that's important to you, then you're not going to be disappointed with the Suicide Squad disc. I'll just list some of them out for you and I'll put them on the screen. You have the gag reel, deleted and extended scenes, the making of 4 of the most epic scenes, and that is the beach, Gorilla Camp, Harley's Escape, which is also included on the 4K disc. It's the only real feature on the 4K disc, but that's nice because you don't often get that. Fall of Jotunheim, and then you have the comic book origins of the Suicide Squad, bringing King Shark to life, how James Gunn made the Suicide Squad, Starro, It's a Freaking Kaiju, 3 retro style trailers, and a director's commentary, which is also on the 4K disc, so a nice touch there. So would I recommend picking up the Suicide Squad on 4K? You're bloody right I would. It's probably the best disc that I've bought in 2021. It's absolute demo. I knew it would be watching it at the cinema. Everything about it's great. Just go out and get it. Will it look great on Blu Ray? Probably. It's got the Dolby Atmos track on there too, I believe. But it's the HDR. It's all those scenes that I told you about, Hallie's escape, the Starro at the end, Polka Dot Man, all that stuff gets realised so much better visually if you have HDR, and the overall picture, as I say, is referenced. It's filmed on IMAX, and that usually equates to a great 4K disc experience. So yeah, it's an easy 5 out of 5 for me. It's one of the best discs I've got in my collection, and it's maybe a contender for 2021 as far as the discs that I've picked up, certainly. So don't hesitate, get the 4K, treat yourself, and if you like the Steelbook, go large, why not? The link's in the description. If all this talk about the Suicide Squad has made you have a wee hankering to go back and watch the original David Ayer one, which isn't that bad, despite what people say, just not as good as James Gunn's. But if you want to watch it and own this digital copy that I have to give away, all I'm asking you to do is just like the video and stick down in the comments your answer to the following question, and that is, which Zack Snyder zombie film did James Gunn, the director of the Suicide Squad, write the screenplay for? Stick your answer down in the comments. I'll see you there, and I'll pick something at random and I'll get in touch via a digital copy. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I'm Andy the Electric Geek. If you want to see more 4K Blu-ray reviews, then why not click on one of these links and you can see more of my unboxings and 4K reviews. Alright, thanks for watching, and as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.